Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to host-tune-perform.com. This is Anand Goyal, and today I have picked up a topic on how to build a fast e-commerce website. So, today we have a lot of skilled people outside, and you can go and ask them to develop your website for 10k, 20k, 50k, or maximum 1 lakh rupees. But the major challenge which comes up is to create up a website which is fast enough to cater your clients. So this is what we will be discussing up today, and we will make sure that you at least understand what technologies you should pick up to create build up a fast e-commerce website. So when we say that you have to create up a fast e-commerce website, do you have to start code from scratch? The answer is no. So this will be an introduction video, and later I will be posting up few videos on spurtcommerce website, which is already an open source platform. You can just go ahead and register to their website and download the community version, and I think that the free version is only 3.0.1, which is based out of Angular 7.2, I guess, and it is also based out of NodeJS, which is also not the latest version. So of course, here on host-tune-perform.org, we will be going ahead and updating up the versions of the software, and we'll be seeing up each and every part of the software, each file, how it is built, and what exactly is required, and how you can make up the use of the already built platform. So when you say that, you will be picking up something called as spurtcommerce. Why we are choosing up this platform? Because this is built on Angular and Node.js. So today the hot skill is SPA, which is single page application. It is required for any developer to understand this thing, that you should be now focused to learn how to develop an SPA. And for developing an SPA, there are two major technologies which are being used widely. There can be some other ones as well, but these two are used up widely. One is React JS, and the another one is Angular JS, right? So you can assume this thing, that during this course we will be seeing up the already given code by spurtcommerce. We will see each of it, and we will also learn Node.js, we will learn Angular JS, and then we already have tutorials on all these things. So you can go ahead and see up the tutorials on all of these things. These are already present out there on our channel. So our focus will remain on Node.js and Angular JS. So if I just move ahead on this video, so using what all technologies currently a website or an e-commerce website specifically can be created. So when you say that you are creating up a website, so the first thing is you need a client. So someone will be opening up your website on Chrome browser, right? Then you need a web server and an app server, or they can both be situated on the same server. So I have in this case, I have mentioned them on the same server. They can be on a different server as well. At last, you need a database. So now let's talk what all softwares we have for database. So for database, we can choose up MongoDB. So I think that we have a open source platform for which follows up the mean stack. So that is Mongo, Express, Node.js, and MEA and Angular, right? So we have the mean stack, which is being followed up by store gen store. So this is a open source platform which also gives you the IP rights, but it is paid. So it is not necessary that an open source platform will be always be free. It is an open source platform, but it takes you one time charges, like say $999. That will cost you approximately 70,000. So you will have to spend that, and then you will be getting up the source code, and then you can use it anyhow you want. But this is not the case with spurtcommerce. Obviously spurtcommerce also takes up a fee, but it also provides you a basic version which is 3.0.1 community version, which is absolutely free. You can just register and download the code. So during this series, like we will be basically like going up with studying this community version, which is 3.0.1. Coming back to my diagram over here, we have database, and like in database we can have a database using MongoDB, using MySQL, using Microsoft SQL, using PostgreSQL, using IBM DB2, and henceforth there is a long list. So what technology you should choose? So for building up a fast e-commerce website, the first step you should understand is you should choose up the correct technology. So this is what is required. So anyhow, database does not matter a lot until and unless you need a scalable system. But if you are on a like business arena where you need a scalable system, then you are already doing good. And like I think that you should already have good engineers out there to help you out. Although like we are always available, you can contact us as us at hosttune-farm.org, and we will be happy to help you. So anyhow, like database is not a big concern. You can choose any one of them. We will be choosing up MySQL, although MongoDB and there can be a comparison between MongoDB and MySQL, because MongoDB is on flat files and MySQL is on like tabular structure relational database. So the usage of these two databases are different, and the scalability part for these two databases are also different. So you can go ahead and like try to understand the difference between these two. So all these three like belong to the same category. Hadoop is obviously like something which is only required when you are uh, like dealing up with different geographies and a high user load. When I say high user load, what do I mean? It means that your user load is greater than like say 10,000, 50,000. Simultaneous user load is greater than 10,000, 50,000. Then there is something which is required, which is Hadoop. So after you choose your technology for the database, you need to choose the technology for the web app. So again, like the web server can be Apache or Nginx server, but again, like this is absolutely your choice. It will not make any difference as per the speed of the software. But here, using up these technologies, like I will recommend you to use Node.js. Why I will recommend you to use Node.js? Because this is a technology which is based on JavaScript, and hence you will have to learn only one language, which is JavaScript. So what is Django is a framework for Python. You can develop your backend using Python. Spring Boot is for Java. Again, PHP is widely used language, like Magento, WordPress, most of the CMS system like which are available like Drupal. All of these like are some, like you can say that they are older technologies, like, and they use PHP. So this is getting obsolete now. PHP is not used by big companies, and if you are looking at building up a great software for your organization, a software which is fast enough, I will recommend you to like go to like Node.js. Then obviously like people also use .NET using IIS server. So here the web server will be IIS and the app part will be done by .NET. So for this particular tutorial series, we will be choosing a Node.js. And the last part is the client side language. This is nothing but the server side language. You can say it as SSL, which is server side language, and you can say it as CSL, which is client side language. So in single page application, you also need a framework, because designing it from scratch from like the source APIs which are given by JavaScript will be very difficult. So it will be great if you go ahead and learn something called as Angular, which we will be picking up in this tutorial series. So you can even go and learn React. There is not much of a difference, but yes, you will have to learn one of them. So these two will also be used. So these will be used within this. So Angular requires knowledge of JavaScript, and Bootstrap is also required to make sure that you can build up a mobile responsive website. So again, like the point is like in this particular series we will be like talking about Angular, Node.js and MySQL. We will be picking up these technologies. And why we are picking up these technologies? Because they serve the purpose of SPA, that is single page application. So choosing up the correct technology to build up a like fast software is very important. What next? Next is something which is common in every part of software development. You should follow software best coding practices. What exactly this means? That you should always follow up indentation and documentation. You should put up right comments everywhere so that your code is understandable by someone who has not created it, and it should be like spaced correctly so that again it is readable. It is actually very important not to create a fast software, but at least to make sure that the code is maintainable, and that actually make sure that your software is developed in an optimized way and hence fast. You should always follow MVC, that is model view controller, and this is what is being followed in Angular and Node.js. So there is a concept of dependency injection, and then there is a concept of like microservices also. So you can see over here dependency injection, which makes sure that you do not rewrite the code again and again. You create a service once, and that service is injected in all the other places, and it makes sure that you do not rewrite the service again. So it is very important to make sure that you follow up this concept. And then microservices, this is something which is hell a lot of important thing to like develop a fast software. What do microservices say? Microservices say keep up your functionalities short. So when you are developing up something, you develop a separate functionality for updating a contact. You develop a separate functionality for ordering your products. You develop a separate functionality for seeing all the products in the system. You develop a separate functionality for changing of the password. So this makes sure that a single module is fast enough. Understand this point. You can integrate all the code together in a single file, but that does not make sense. It will like microservices is a concept, it is not a technology. It is a architectural concept which says that how you should build up your architecture while developing up your software. So microservices is absolutely required to build up a high performing software. Then obviously like you should optimize your code while developing up your code so that it costs you less complexity. It means that you should not put up unnecessary loops, or it means that your code like should be optimized enough which can like solve up or give up your functionality in less instructions. So if you go deep inside code, every part of the code is like combined up with an instruction. So when we say that we are dealing with a code, we write up a code. That code is taken by our kernel. The kernel is a part of your CPU, and that kernel like takes up the instruction and executes it. So in the same way, like we need to make sure that our code complexity is less, and that can be achieved. So this point can be achieved using the next point. People usually say that they only want to performance test the entire system. So like as it is important to performance test the entire system, it is also important to like performance test a single module. So when you say that you test performance test a single module on 10,000 user, you know that this particular piece of software is behaving or like giving you the response for 10,000 users in 2 seconds. But if that particular piece of software is not giving you the response in 2 seconds, when it is integrated with the entire software stack, then you can say that because of some other software, this software is getting impacted. So this is the area where like you get to know how one software is getting impacted by another software. So it is very important for anyone to performance test a single module as well with the integrated product. And the last but not the least is the performance tuning. So I will just give you an example. Way back, I was working with an SQL server. There, a query was working very slow. So people like were trying to like remake the query again and again and again, but it was again very slow. And the reason why it was slow, because they were not using up indexing. So there is a concept in SQL which is indexing. You people must be aware if you are seeing up this video. So they were not using up indexing. But how do you figure this out? So these things come up with experience. Like you should know about the software, you should know how to performance tune a software. So again, there is something called as explain plan in SQL, right? So you using that, you can see how your query will be executed by the daemon which is actually running up the SQL server. Then if you talk about performance tuning of a language such as Java, so in Java also you have JMC, Java Mission Control. So I think that it is not free now, and it even does not comes up with your JDK package now. And but like previously it used to come up, but there are other different tools which makes these data available. What exactly the data is given by JMC? It gives you the data how many times the static keyword is used, how many like integer data keywords or variables have been defined, how many characters variables have been defined, how much heap memory is being used, how much like stack is being consumed, and so on. So this way you know that how is actually your architecture of your Java virtual machine JVM is working. So this is just an example to make sure that you also understand the part of performance tuning. But again, this part is required only when like you are dealing up with a highly like domain specific software. It means that IT domain specific software, or like a software which has to deal with a lot of users like around the globe. But if you are dealing within a country, this part performance tuning this can be skipped. But all the above are required to build up a fast e-commerce platform. So you do not have to worry on any of these things. We will be talking about each one of them while we will be like going up with this series on spurtcommerce. Then the next part is when you have already developed up your software, where to deploy it. So when people choose up a deployment method, people either choose it from GoDaddy, HostGator, and there are similarly a lot of other service providers which give you the feasibility of hosting up your website. So most of them gives you a shared hosting. So you should never choose this. I will never recommend this. This is the cheapest one, and this is why people choose it. You can either go for dedicated hosting, VPS hosting. Managed hosting is something which will be managed by the team. So if you are choosing of this and your software is behaving slow, and you're sure that the software is behaving slow because of the hardware, so in the step 2 we have already taken care of software part. Now after doing all of those things, even then if the software is slow, then it like becomes the part which comes as the hardware. It is slow because of the hardware. So if you create a software and you do not give it a good hardware, it will never perform well. So in managed solution, you can go up to the team and ask them that please give me a better hardware. Obviously the charges will be more. So the charges for dedicated hosting lies around 7,000 or like 6,000 per month for like these kind of hosting, and that's why people do not go for them. But without them, your e-commerce website will always be a failure. Then there is cloud hosting from AWS, then Azure and DigitalOcean, and similarly way other companies we have. So again, the concept remains the same, but like you can choose up this. One thing which I can recommend is on-premise. You can choose up this option if you are starting up with your e-commerce website. So you can just host your website on-premise. That will give you your amazing hardware on much less price. So for example, you are spending up 7K per month over here. Then over here, if you already have the computer system and internet with a public IP or a static IP available, then it will cost you nothing other than electricity. So all the softwares are free. You just need a computer system and an internet connection, and on premise you will get a good speed within that country. So what is the purpose of cloud? The cloud has a lot of CDNs, like content delivery network machines, which are situated at various geographies. So when a person hits up from US and you build up your website from India, so it does not mean that your server is situated up in India. But in this case, in on-premise, if you are working in some region, you need to make sure that your server is situated in that particular region. So if you're working in Delhi, your server should be there in Delhi. This is what I recommend people. Another problem with on-premise is high availability. So it will be better if your team can like hold up and work up with Docker on an orchestration engine, because if they can work up with Docker and orchestration engine, what they can do is they can have two systems, and on both the system they can like put up your e-commerce website, and even if one is down, the other will be up. This can be done using Kubernetes or Docker Swarm with Docker, or you can even use a load balancer with a router. And if you do not want to use Docker, please do not use it. It's perfectly your choice, but you need to make sure that you are giving up a high available system. Not but the least, the last step to build up a high performing website is continuous monitoring. So we have already talked about performance testing, but there is something called as continuous monitoring. What does this mean? That there will be a piece of software which will be continuously monitoring up your servers. What it will monitor? It will monitor how many users are coming in, what is the load of the users, how much CPU is being used, how much memory is being used, how much network throughput is coming in and network throughput is going out, and similarly weigh other parameters. And this is something which can be done using alone with Prometheus. So why I have mentioned of this stack is just like this complete stack will give you a great like solution to build up a high monitoring structure. So basically Nagios core is for infrastructure monitoring, the purpose, the real purpose. But there is nothing which Nagios core can do and like Prometheus cannot do. It is just about the usage of the product. So again, you can skip this part over here and you can just choose Prometheus and Grafana for visualization. Obviously JMeter will be used for performance testing, and it is also the best tool. So these are few steps which if you follow dedicatedly and consistently, I make sure that you will achieve a fast e-commerce website. So if you have any problem while seeing up your website and you feel that your website is not fast enough, you can put up comments over here on my channel and I will be happy to help you. Thank you guys. Have a great day.